webinar that we're going to be having for you today. I'm quite excited to get kicked off. But before I start with introductions and all of this, I'm just going to wait like 30 more seconds, just about, for a couple extra people to join. But I'm quite excited to see the number of people that we've already got in the webinar with us today. So just a couple more seconds while people join at the last minute, as it were, and then we'll get kicked off. Cool. Okay, I think we're ready to start. Everyone seems to be here. So before I get started with introductions, I'm going to kick off with the elephant in the room. At least for me, whenever I start with any of the, see a comment coming through. Don't worry, you guys are on mute indeed, but I hope your cough feels better. Yeah, so elephants in the room, at least the question for me, top of my mind whenever I join one of these sessions, is what's in it for me and why am I here early in the morning? And so today, basically what you'll be leaving with is a deeper understanding of the two-pot system, not just the rules that you see circulating and how it works, but really getting an understanding of the impact that the two-pot system is going to have. And I'm really excited for Alex to share that. And then towards the end, we also have some practical things for you to look at in your business that, should you start doing that and implementing, will actually minimize the impact on you and your team. So to kick us off with the intros, I'm Ari, the head of product for Wealthbit. And for the newcomers, Wealthbit is a financial tech company where we focus to empower people on their journey to financial freedom. For us, the most important thing is helping people make better decisions around their finances and actually understand their finances in a very simple and meaningful way. And then with me today, who will be doing the actual presenting to all of you, is Alex Cook, who is the founder and CEO of GCI and Wealthbit as well. And I'm very excited for him to share his experience today. He's been in the financial services space for more than 24 years. So he has a ton of knowledge and experience, and he's seen it all as well. In his financial services company, the most notable thing there that is relevant to today is that their EB division looks after close on 10,000 members. So Alex has a deep experience in the EB space, what it means for businesses, the admin and the intensity that comes with that on HR teams, as well as what can happen and the strain that could be added with changes to legislation as we're seeing today. So without rambling on too much, I'm going to hand over to Alex, who's going to take us through the presentation on the two-pot system, running us through the good, the bad, and the ugly. Alex, the floor is yours.
Ari, thanks so much. Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Yeah, it's a cold Johannesburg winter, but the days are getting longer, which is great. So I think we're slowly going to start warming up. Yeah, today is not going to be like your standard two-pot presentation. We're going to go into the rules, but the focus is really going to be on you as a business, and then especially your HR departments, understanding what the impact's going to be, and then how we can potentially help lighten the load. So this two-pot system, think of it as a luck event. Everyone's been given this luck event, whether it's a good or a bad luck event is up to us to figure out. But we've all been given the same luck event, and it's up to us as to how we use this luck event to our advantage. And we think you can use it to your advantage, and hopefully today is going to make it a bit easier. So let me share my screen. Ari, hopefully I'm going to be kicking your screen off when I share this one. There we go. I think it's coming through. If it isn't, Ari, just give me a heads up.
Got it. Just a quick thing as well.
All right,
pop
I'm guessing it is coming
into
through.
pop your
So
questions into the chat.
the four things that we're going to look to cover in our time today are the hard numbers. We're going to take a look at the hard numbers of the two-pot system. And I'm not talking in terms of how much you're allowed to take out. We'll look at that as well. But the hard numbers, as in the volume that was likely to be coming our way. And by coming our way, I mean coming your way. And the impact on your HR team. Then we're going to be looking at the two-pot system in one easy slide. It's easy to get confused with this two-pot system. We try to make it really simple and put it into one slide. And then we're going to be giving two worked examples with a live demonstration. And after that, we're going to be looking at the good, the bad, and the ugly. So there are going to be winners and there will be losers with this two-pot system. We're going to be unpacking who those are. And then lastly, and probably most importantly, this is an opportunity to maximize the benefits for your company. And there are ways to minimize the impact. And we're going to be looking at and unpacking ways to help you minimize the impact. So let's get into the first one. And the first one is the hard numbers. And these are the numbers directly from SARS. So in the budget speech that was given fairly recently, SARS has actually budgeted on 5 billion Rand in additional revenue simply from these withdrawals, from the savings pot. So if we interpolate that to how much is likely to be coming out from the two-pot system, from the savings pot, there'll be 26 billion Rand in withdrawals to be able to generate that 5 billion Rand in tax revenue. We'll look at what that, how that works shortly. But these are conservative numbers. Some other numbers, these numbers from Alexander Forbes, have come out at almost double. 50 billion Rand is what they expect to be withdrawn. So they expect the impact to be far, far greater. Now, this is going to create a load on HR teams. First of all, there's going to be a lot of initial time spent on educating members. This education, there will be initial education, but there's going to be ongoing education that's going to be required as well. There's going to be a lot of work that's going to be required to prevent fear-driven resignations. And we've started seeing this playing out already. People resigning because they don't know what to expect. And they think they're going to lose access to their vested pot and to be able to withdraw on that. Then your EB administrators, we've seen varied degrees of administrators' preparedness for this two-pot system. Not everyone is ready. So there's going to be time involved from your department in making sure that the administrators are ready for the onslaught of withdrawal benefits, and also that their systems are ready with the three-pot visualization for the members. Then the individual member conversations are going to be coming along. And these conversations are going to center around these sort of themes where people are going to be experiencing withdrawals and their delays because of tax directives or because of EB administrators' delays. There are going to be explanations that are going to be required on fees. Why are fees being taken from the withdrawal benefits? The impact of tax on withdrawals. And then also the impact of tax on the salaries. So if a person does take a withdrawal, it might push them into a higher tax bracket, in which case their ongoing salary is going to be slightly lower. There are going to be explanations required as to why that's happening. And then also, obviously, many people are going to be asking for multiple withdrawals, and they're only going to be allowed one withdrawal, so there are going to be explanations. So I guess the question is, how many explanations are going to be required? What we did is we looked at the numbers. And let's just take the conservative estimate that SARS is working on of 5 billion with the average rate of tax they're expecting of 19%. If you look at the total number of withdrawals, it's going to total about 26 billion Rand. Now, the minimum you can take is 0. You can take anywhere from 0 all the way up to 30,000 as the maximum that'll be allocated initially to that savings pot. So let's just take a midpoint. Let's take 15,000. And if we divide 15,000 into 26 billion, we get a fairly frightening number, 1.7 million potential withdrawals this financial year within the next 6 months. Now, looked at another way, we only have 6 million taxpayers. So 1.7 million withdrawals of 6 million taxpayers is a lot. It's about 29% of taxpayers. Think of this as 29% of your staff. So imagine 25% of your staff, 29% of your staff applied for withdrawals in September. It's a frightening number. So like everything, prevention is better than cure. And one way of preventing these withdrawals is to educate members, get them to really understand how the two-pot system works. And we've put it together in one fairly simple slide. And it looks like this. So the two-pot system isn't actually a two-pot system. It's actually a three-pot system. And the reality is it's actually a four-pot system, because the vested pot is actually consists of two pots, the pre-harmonization pot and the harmonization pot. We're going to ignore that for the time being. Okay, we're going to call this two-pot system a three-pot system, and the three-pot system is divided up into your vested pot, your retirement pot, and then your savings pot. The vested pot is funded from your existing retirement fund. And if you're 55 years or older on the 1st of March 2021, you have the option of participating. You don't have to participate. Anyone that was younger than that on that date has to participate. And their existing retirement fund will be split into two parts, the seed money and then your vested pot. On your vested pot, all the existing fund rules will apply. The seed money will then fund the savings pot. And the maximum that can be seeded is 30,000, but 10% of your existing pot or your existing fund will fund that savings pot. Then your salary and the regular contributions towards your retirement fund will continue, but they won't go into the vested pot. They'll go into either your retirement pot or your savings pot. And the amount that's going to go into your savings pot will be 1/3. The amount that will go into your retirement pot will be 2/3. On your retirement pot, the big difference is that there will be compulsory preservation before retirement. So if a person retires, leaves work, and they take any money out of the retirement pot, it'll go into compulsory preservation. And at retirement, that retirement pot will have to provide an income for life. So compulsory annuitization. The savings pot is different. The member will be able to withdraw up to once per year an amount of up to 100% of the savings pot. And the minimum withdrawal is 2,000 Rand. They don't have to withdraw. And the important thing to note is if they don't withdraw, that money is always available for them to withdraw. So they don't have to. They can also move that money into the retirement pot. So it can go that way, but once it's in the retirement pot, it cannot go back into the savings pot. So that's quite important to note. So what we thought to do is let's give you an example. And we've got two examples. The first example is this person who's a 35-year-old professional. They're earning 60,000 Rand per month. They have a provident fund contribution of 10%, and they've accumulated a benefit up until September 2024 of 600,000 Rand. The normal retirement age in the company is 65. So let's go through this worked example in a slide. So the salary of 60,000, the provident fund contribution of 6,000 Rand, and there's 600,000 Rand of existing assets within their provident fund. The seed money, because 10% of 600,000 is more than 30,000, is capped at that 30,000 level, will go into the savings pot. The vested pot will be the balance. So 570,000 Rand will remain in their vested pot. 2/3 of their contribution will go into their retirement pot. So of the 6,000, 4,000 Rand will go into this retirement pot every single month. So for the 6 months from September until February, there'll be an additional 24,000 Rand going into the retirement pot. The other 1/3 plus the seed money will go into the savings pot. The seed money of 30,000 Rand plus the 1/3 contribution of 2,000 Rand for 6 months, which is 12,000, will go into the savings pot. There'll be a total of 42,000 Rand in the savings pot. Now, let's assume that this person decides to take the entire lot out of the savings pot. The tax on that withdrawal will be at their marginal rates, not at the retirement fund tax rates, at their marginal rates. So the tax will be 15,000 Rand, leaving them with an amount in their bank account of 26,000. So the impact of tax is enormous. What we haven't included here is the impact of fees, because off that withdrawal, fees will also come. And we'll take a look at what these could be a bit later. What I'm going to ask is if Ari, if you can share your screen, kick me off here, and let's go through a demonstration of what this means for the member in pictures, because pictures speak 1,000 words.
Perfect. Okay. Let's jump into this. Understand the WAM term. Okay. Just quickly before I play the video, if you guys do, am I on mute? Can you hear me? Okay. Just as before we kick off in this, I see some questions coming through. We are marking them. And at the end, we will be handling some of the Q&A coming through. So if you do have more, just pop them into the chat for us, please. Okay, let's kick off with a demo. In just a couple of minutes, you'll understand the long-term impact of the two-pot system and the consequences of the savings pot and withdrawals that happen. So the biggest continual danger is withdrawing from your savings pot. Now, it's easy to tell people that they shouldn't do it and it has long-term consequences, but it's really difficult for people to wrap their head around. That's why people need to visually see what's going to happen. Okay, so let's take a look at this here. I've set up a base plan in our financial planning platform. And just to quickly orient you, there's a couple key things that we'll be looking at. Right now, this individual profile that I've set up is for someone earning about 60,000 a month. They've invested about 600,000 and they're contributing about 6,000 every month into their pension. Now, their goal for a retirement income to draw from their investments is about 28,000. And as you can see here on the capital graph, that by the time that they're age 65, they'll have accumulated about 5.6 million in present value. If you swap that over to future value, that'll be worth about 32 million. Now, we can also take a look at the income chart. You can see that their salary income is represented here, and then eventually their net income is represented just as what's withdrawn from their assets at that time. So we'll jump right away into scenario planning, which is a place in our platform that helps people visualize the impact of their decisions by comparing the scenario to their current situation, right? So let's jump into that. Here in scenario planning, we'll quickly look at the true impact that the two-pot system can have if someone doesn't make good financial decisions. Now, scrolling down, I'll go straight to the pension that we have here. And if we go down into it, you'll see that it is represented as the various pots for this asset. Now, I want to focus on the savings pot for the purpose of this demonstration, right? So we're going to jump into the savings pot. And the first thing that we'll do is we're going to drop the return rate to about 6%. The reason I'm doing this is that some platforms are actually going to enable you and employees to choose a different fund allocation for the savings pot. Now, these are typically just going to be normal income funds that are very conservative and don't have high return rates. which means that even if someone didn't withdraw from their investment, the long-term impact of a lower return rate is consequential to their financial future. So if you look here, we have significantly less capital just because of that change that might happen. Now, if we jump over to the income chart, you'll see that the income, where it used to dip significantly from age 76, now in this scenario comparatively starts taking a turn after the age 73. So we've lost about 3 years of sustained income just because of this one change. Now, if I go down into the assets again, back into the savings pot, and let's start withdrawing annually. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this up so that we withdraw the full amount on an annual basis, right? Which a lot of people would be tempted to do, pressured to do, all of these kind of things. What are the consequences of that? So going back up to the graph, swapping back to capital for a moment, you can see that this individual will end up with more than $1 million less just because they keep withdrawing from their savings pot on a regular basis. Now, going back to the income charts again, dropping from about 76 to 71. That is 5 years worth of sustained income that is eradicated by continually withdrawing from the savings pot and not letting it grow with the rest of your capital. This is a very simple way to illustrate to members that they should really carefully think about the decisions that they make regarding the two-pot system. The money might be tempting, and there might be pressures to take that cash, but ultimately it's not a good thing to keep doing on a continual basis because the consequences are immense. And what we've seen is that as soon as someone actually sees the visualization and they engage with it and they can understand the impact, that is when they make better decisions. And just for reference, going back down here to the monthly retirement budget, where they need 28,000, and in the original plan they were able to withdraw 18,000 kind of for the rest of their life. Now this has dropped down all the way to barely 15, which is a massive, massive change. So that's the visual illustration in a nutshell.
Thanks, Ari. Sorry for not putting myself on mute. I realized I created a lot of feedback. I hope it wasn't too harsh on the ears. So what we found is that by showing people the actual impact of their decisions before they make those decisions, they tend to make better decisions. So we put this tool into the hands of every single member, and we allow them to play with their own situation, and the results are good. They tend to make better decisions. So that's a demonstration of a person earning 60,000. We thought we should give an example of a person earning less. So this person earns 35,000, is 35 years old. They earn 10,000 Rand a month, and they've also got provident fund contributions of 10%. They've accumulated 100,000 up until September, and their normal retirement age is also 65. So provident fund contribution of 1,000 Rand, seed money 10%, which equals 10,000 Rand in this case. The balance goes into the vested pot of 90,000, and then 1/3 of their contributions goes to 2/3, goes to the retirement pot, which is 4,000 for the 6 months. 1/3 plus the seed money goes into the savings pot. That totals 12,000. Let's say they took that entire 12,000 out. Impact of tax would be around 2,000 Rand, which would leave about 9,800 Rand in their account, in their pocket. So the impact of tax, I think, is going to be underestimated. the impact of fees are also going to be underestimated. And we've got a few examples later on. So the reality is that no one wants to make bad decisions. No one wants to be stressed about their finances. They tend to be because they don't know what to do, and they also don't know who to turn to. And what we found is that by improving people's financial literacy, that people tend to understand what to do. And if you give them someone reliable to turn to, someone that isn't trying to sell them a product, and someone that is competent at their level. So it doesn't help putting a coach in front of a member if that coach is a junior and the member is a senior member. You've got to be putting the right coach with the right member. That people tend to make better decisions. So as an example, this is what is possible. This is one of the wealth clients, and this is a company where we started helping them in around sometime last year, 2023, and they've just they attached a progression of how many staff they have had over the years. And when we started with them, there were 39 people that onboarded themselves onto Wealthbit. Of those 39 people, 8 of them were in the green, as we put it. This is where people are heading towards a point of financial freedom, and they've seen their future, and their future looks good. What's happened over the course of the past few months is the number of people that have been onboarded has increased fairly steadily, and there are now 78 people of the 112 people have been onboarded. What's more encouraging, though, is that of those 78 people, 28 of them are in the green, which represents 36% of everyone onboarded is now heading towards financial freedom. It is really, really encouraging. And I know that this company's got a goal. They've got a goal of getting to 40%, but I think they're quite pleased with where they are. And this all starts with financial literacy. So let's delve into some of the good, the bad, and the ugly of this two-part system. And there is good, so we want to start with that. The good is that your existing withdrawal benefits are not impacted by withdrawals from the savings pot. So that 550,000 Rand that's tax-free at retirement, if you take out of the savings pot, it's not going to impact that tax-free amount. So that's good news. And the second bit of good news is that 27,500 pre-tax withdrawal, which is tax-free from the vested pot, that remains intact. So if you take that 27,500 Rand out, it'll still be tax-free pre-retirement. So that's good news. We also think this is a very good opportunity for those that are in debt to get themselves out of debt by taking advantage of the savings pot. The caveat here is that if people do get themselves out of debt, it's vital that they start good financial behavior where they don't go back into debt and just amplify their problem. So we think this is a very good alternative to using debt counselors, which typically consolidate debt and then issue new debt and then charge a fee for doing so. So this could be used to good effect. The other good is that it has a potential to reduce resignations, because this is the cycle that we've typically seen. There's usually some emergency in a member's life, and they create their first debts. They then battle to settle the debt. They get very stressed. They look for solutions, and then the solution is easy. They just resign and access their pension fund benefits, or they go into more debt. So by having access to the savings pot, it's definitely an opportunity to remain employed and still settle the debt without resigning. So we think that it could be a very, very good outcome. The long-term impact on South Africa, it's also quite positive. So we're going to, in the long run, and it's not going to happen in the short run, but over the next sort of 10, 15 years, we're going to see increased retirement fund retention, which will lead to greater wealth accumulation and reduced state dependency, which is incredibly good. Let's get on to the bad, and there is some bad. The ugly is worse, but let's get on to the bad. So initially, we actually see an increase in resignations. We're starting to see this in many large companies that we work with, where people are resigning out of fear. They're leaving their companies out of fear that they won't be able to access their vested pot. It's important to impress upon members that their vested pot, the rules remain the same. So they'll still be able to get out. There's no need to resign. But we see the resignations are happening out of fear. So once again, if we educate people, it'll help them and help your departments. There's also a lack of available guidance. So this is a snippet that we found on the Fisca LinkedIn page recently, and it said, contact your retirement benefits counselor or financial advisor to ensure you make the right decision. Now, the reality is that retirement benefit counselors are typically under-resourced in terms of tools and capability. And because of that, they're not effective. So they're generally fairly junior people, and junior people you battle to consult with senior people, and they're also under massive time pressure. Financial advisors, on the other hand, their life is about selling time. So they're effectively selling time on a regular basis, and they're going to be reluctant to spend a lot of time on advice without income. So members do need guidance, but be very careful of relying on these methods only. Be very careful of relying on those two methods. The other bad is that retailers are going to make a ton of money. So look at the numbers, 26 billion Rand in withdrawals, 5 billion Rand in tax, which means there's going to be 21 billion Rand in the economy available to spend, and it is going to be spent, in our opinion. So we think that retailers are going to do very well. SARS is going to win twice. Okay, the first time SARS is going to win is with 5 billion in direct tax collection from the withdrawals from the savings pot, tax at marginal rate. Bear in mind that is a conservative estimate, so it's likely to be far greater than that. But the second way they're going to win is that there's going to be tax directives that have to be applied for on every single withdrawal. So if there are outstanding taxes, those are going to be collected first, and then they're going to collect the marginal tax, and then the rest will be paid out. So SARS will win twice. I'm going to get into the ugly, and the ugly is vicious. So brace yourself. But this is happening. The vultures are circling, and we're seeing it already. Credit providers are already encouraging people to rather take on more debt than accessing the savings pot, knowing full well that they're going to have access to their savings pot if they get into dire straits. So credit providers are going to be circling your employees frequently. Relatives are going to be doing the same, and they're going to be pressuring family members to withdraw from their savings pot for these emergencies that crop up. And the emergencies will be voluminous. We see it happening. So it's also going to be very profitable for many administrators. Now, not all administrators are going to profit. There's some who aren't going to be charging an additional fee. But administrators are going to be charging in two ways. First of all, system readiness costs, which they have already started applying to the funds. And you might very well see your administrative costs rise next year. And the reason being will be because of all the system readiness that has had to be done. And the second is when the members do withdraw. So when the members withdraw, they're likely to be charged a fee. And the Institute of Retirement Funds South Africa said the fee is likely to be between 300 and 600 Rand on every single withdrawal. So let's just take a low point. Let's guess it's 350 Rand per withdrawal. And on 350 Rand and 1.7 million withdrawals, these administrators are likely to be charging a total of about 595 million. Now, as I said, not all of them are charging it, but many of them are going to be charging this administration fee. So who pays for this? Well, only one person or two people that can pay. The first is the member. And the member will pay in terms of these taxes. So let's say 2,000 Rand comes out, which is the minimum withdrawal. Taxes off that, roughly 20%. So 400 Rand comes off. And then against that come fees as well of another, say, 350 Rand. So the member gets left with 1,250 Rand. So from their 2,000 Rand withdrawal, they're likely to be left with about 1,250. It's 750 or or 37.5%, that's gone. It's just gone. The members are not going to be happy campers. Who else pays for this? Yes, you guessed it. It's you. You're going to pay for this. And you're going to pay for this in terms of time. So let's just take an example. Let's say you've got a company of 1,000 strong, and on average, 29% of people apply for withdrawals. That's 290 people. Let's say on average, you spend only 30 minutes per person in total on each person that withdraws. Now, we guess it's going to be a lot more than this, but let's assume it's 30 minutes. That's going to work out to 20 full working days for someone. 20 full working days can be sucked out of your HR department and spent on this new expense. So how to address this? And we think that there are 3 ways to address this. The first, of course, prevention is better than cure, but how do you do that? First of all, improve financial literacy. If you can improve financial literacy, fewer people will withdraw. Second of all, and we've looked at all legislation, nothing's stopping you from doing this. Insist that people have a financial coaching session before each withdrawal. They might second guess their decision to withdraw. And then third of all, help members see the impact of any withdrawal they do make. Understand their long-term impact. So to help you, we've put together some free resources, and there are 3 free resources we'll show you soon. And then we've also put together a webinar, and the webinar we've made specifically available to members, and we've pitched it at member level, and we hope that's going to help, and that's on the 27th of August. So the free resources, there are 3 parts that we've put together, and the first is the questions to ask your administrator. So we know that many administrators are not ready. So we've got a cheat sheet for you to ask your administrator if they are ready. Second of all, we've put together a free financial health assessment, and this is really to give your staff a voice. Give your staff a voice and let them know that you care, and let them know that their stresses matter to you. And then we're going to take all of this information we'll get, and we'll put an anonymous report and prepare it for you to understand what the pressures are that are amongst your staff that are happening. And it'll give you a good idea as to how to address these pressures, how to be proactive about things. Within the webinar, we're going to be looking at 3 things. So first of all, to explain the 2-part system in a really understandable way to your staff. We're going to take them through the impact of withdrawals. So we'll probably take them through a very, very similar demonstration, perhaps in a slightly more depth and a bit slower, of the impact of the withdrawals on their lives. And then we're going to be providing them with alternative strategies. So people have debt, people have emergencies. If we can give them alternative strategies to cope with those, cope with debt and to cope with emergencies without creating more debt and without withdrawing their savings pot, we think it's going to be incredibly valuable for your members. So our team will reach out to you and we'll send you the resources after this webinar, and we hope it's going to be extremely useful to you. We are just about out of time. I thank you for joining us, and I hope that there will be time to answer some questions now. We still have 5 minutes. So Ari, Dill, what questions are there available that we need answered?
Perfect. So I'll go top to bottom here. So one of the first questions that came in was asking what
you for some reason. But it could be me.
I'm not sure. I hope it's you. Okay. Can you guys hear me? Anyone pop a yes in the chat there? Okay, Alex, it's a you problem. Okay, great. Thanks. So the first question we had was, at what point can you move money from the savings pot to the retirement pot? So for those of you that don't know, there is a mechanism by which you can actually transfer money from the savings pot to the retirement pot. And this is to make sure that you don't get into the situation of being too tempted to withdraw the cash. And you can withdraw that money, move the money from savings to the retirement pot annually. And when you make that move, there aren't any taxes applied to that because it's already within the asset, within the two-pot asset. The next question that we have here is what happens to existing preservation funds? So preservation funds are also get the two-pot applied, but because you can't contribute to them, the only thing that basically happens there is they get a savings pot attached to them, and then they function as normal. So, and the savings pots will be seeded as per the normal rules. Then another one that we have here, which is at retirement, which tax tables will be applied. Will the 1/3 savings pot balance be subject to? Okay, so the savings pot, when you get to retirement, at that point, the retirement fund tax tables get applied instead of the, what do you call it? The normal taxable income tables that ruin your life right now.
That's right. It's only withdrawals from the savings pots pre-retirement that gets the marginal tax rate. The rest will be at the conventional retirement tax table rate, where 550,000 tax-free, and thereafter 18, 27, 36%.
Yeah. Okay, great. If there's any more questions, you can pop them into the chat. Otherwise, what our team's going to do is, as Alex mentioned, is we'll reach out to you via email, and we'll send you the free resources so that you can get a head start on having the conversations that are necessary with your administrators, and making sure that your business and your team is ready for the transition on the 1st of September. And then, if you guys also have any other questions after the webinar that kind of pop up later through the day, reach out to our team and we'd be more than happy to answer them and just give you a little bit more insights, because I know some of this is a little bit hectic to kind of try and wade through. But thanks for the time. Thanks for everyone for joining. Alex, thanks so much for an amazing presentation.
Thanks everyone for joining. It's great to have such a huge audience with us, and have a powerful rest of your Tuesday.
Cool. Cheers, everyone.
Bye.